In my opinion, every action or choice shows every individual mentality. I'm talking about being practical in motorsport. We are living in a world where the motorsport is very expensive. The base is a passion for motorsport, karting as a hobby, like a professional type of motorsport for my own pleasure. I always had an attraction for a four-wheels form of motorsport, well-rounded shapes and well-balanced machines. I don't want to present any other type of racing machine. Let's just say for me the most complete machine is the kart or the go-kart because it has an almost perfect weight distribution, an optimal weight transfer, a low ride height, very low center of gravity, and because of all physics principles the direction changes are very sharp, almost instant. A kart should be a very balanced machinery. Why I love karts? Because I can race equivalent of 400 or 500 horsepower with the amount of cost about 800 or 1000 euro a second-hand kart. Everyone can choose his favorite type of machinery as long they are happy and they can afford it. I am living in Romania. The incomes are not so bright and the circuits are very uncommon in our country. For instance, the most closest circuit to me is 125 kilometers away nearby Sibiu, and I prefer it because I can drive straight to this place using the closest highway. So, after a couple of laps in a rental cart, I decided to buy a racing one. But because I didn't had enough patience, I ended up with an old Romanian chassis made in 1986. The design was very poor and I preferred to modify it, and that's how I became interested in MIG welding. That happened in 2017. In that time I was trying not to spend too much money on karts. I started studying kart chassis only in 2017, but for a beginner, I liked the way it came out. To notice the fact that I only observed a couple of designs till starting to modify the old one. Its original design was thinner, bendable and with poor stability with those narrow wheels. I like best handling chassis, but I also need stability, a considerable amount of rigidity. The chassis has to flex just when it has to flex. The original design was flexing almost all the time because it's poor quality steel, and that was the purpose of modifying it, making it better, reliable, adding more performance. I want to present on short how this old Romanian chassis was made. All the information is from the website frk.com.ro. In 1971, Ion Bobocel built the first ever Romanian kart, welding the chassis from water tubes using wheelbarrow wheels. In 1974, the first modern chassis was built by Radu Grozia in workshop of Technical Institute from Bucharest, and the incoming models was built in Brașov by Dumitru Telescu at the university workshops. This old chassis, made around 1984-1988, has his origins in those early designs. The engines were a 50cc from Mobra, old Romanian bike, and 125 or 175cc from CZ or MZ Soviet Union bikes. So, isn't it ironic? Me as a Romanian starting this adventure with a vintage Romanian kart? That is how I have started this journey, trying to understand the design and its functionality, developing myself, developing more skills like welding and so on. Back in 2017, I spent a couple of hours with a professional welder and we tried to align the transversal tubes of the chassis, and we miscalculated the possibility of longitudinal deformation of it. So right now, I understood the Romanian chassis, it's too much bent to be rebuilt. You can observe the alignment differences, all the wrong angles, because it was made by poor quality steel, and many years of driving, crashes and deformation are too much for it. The second chassis came after a very strong adventure. It is a very professional one, made by a concentrated Dutch manufacturer, Combicart, around 1996 or 1998, using 28 mm diameter tubes and 40 mm rear axle. It was my friend's chassis and I crashed it, bending the front end a bit. After I will fix its front end, will be a very good running one, but I don't have any parts for it. I have to buy all the parts, so it will be another long-term project. I had very good memories driving it, and it used to have a 100cc 2-stroke reed-valve Yameparilla engine with 28 horsepower. In 2018, I found a really good deal, a complete racing chassis with lot of new parts or almost new parts. A Dino Karts shifter chassis, high quality steel with a very good price around 280 euros. That chassis saved me, and after I bought it, I put it at storage in the workshop where I repair cars as an employee because my boss helped me with a corner where I deposited my car's parts and chassis, dreaming about the day when I will repair, rebuild and drive them. These are the specs of Dino chassis. Shifter chassis, as I said, in 30 mm diameter tubes in special heat-treated HSLA steel, 35 mm diameter rear axle mounted with 4 bearings in special bearing hangers for best possible stability. Dino's hydraulic disc brake with PFTE brake pipes, cast ventilated brake disc with aluminum wheels. All this information I only found at vdm46.com/othercars. In that winter of 2018-2019, I rebuilt the Dino chassis. It was difficult to paint it at low temperature. I remember the Christmas Eve, nothing special for me. I was strengthening the car seat with fiberglass. After I finished the entire chassis, I tried to attend to the circuit to buy and mount the engine in the last weekend of February. But Friday evening I received a lot of pictures with fairy tale snow in Sibiu, so it happened only in March. It was a beautiful spring Saturday when I spent a couple of hours mounting the engine, and after just approximately 50 meters the piston blew up. It wasn't a problem, they gave me another engine and the routine started again. But after a couple of laps the night was coming, so I had to organize all the tools, wrap the cart on the top of my car and drove back home. I observed that I couldn't take left corners, but I noticed only home that one front tire was bigger than the other. After a couple of weeks I came back at the circuit, and after a couple of hours trying to start the engine I was completely enjoying my hard work, driving the kart and starting to understand better Dino's concept and why this chassis is different than others, but it all started to work well. Back home I managed to set up the carburetor and the problem of difficult engine start was solved. Of course, I came back to the circuit for a couple of times. It was a very good year. In June 2020, after the pandemic restrictions were suspended, me and my karting friends spent a very good day at the circuit together with our families, driving the karts till one of my front tire was out of rubber. But when I came home in a maintenance day, I observed something was a bit strange with the engine. When I disassembled the engine, I found out that the piston and the rotary valve needed replacement. So for the next couple of months I have to buy a piston and a rotary valve, front tires and new side pods for my car. Before finishing, I want just to add some details about the transition shed that I built on my own at the countryside, 35 kilometers away from the town I'm living. I used it for 6 months because I needed a place to practice welding, but there I also had the kart and its parts, and almost every weekend I was there working, welding, and managed to get as many skills as I can. On future I hope to have my own workshop. Right now I have all the stuff deposited in a small room inside the storage nearby Hunedoara. There is where I'm living. And whenever I need a tool or the cart, I bring them at my working place, manage to use, repair, maintenance them, and after transporting them back to the little room inside the storage. This is how my journey begins. Together we can find out the route, and I think you already guessed what will be the content of next couple of videos. Thanks for watching and hope to come with new stuff as soon as possible. Cheers and stay safe everyone!